Welcome, evolutionaries. This is such an exciting show. This is now episode 18 for us, and we have a great Canadian company for you. We're going to be talking with, and I'm going to bring him on right now, Francois Byrne from Hybrid Power, and they're doing some really cool things for battery backup and storage solutions with Canadian homes. And they just did a very special launch today. So welcome, Francois. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Lauren. I'm great. How about you?
I'm fantastic. So I guess you guys are just reeling. You just finally got your launch off the ground. What want to tell me a little bit about what that was? All this excitement that you had going on today?
Yeah, so I mean, it was an exciting day because and obviously I'm sitting with what we launched here today. But it was really the first time we took a real Canadian or North American approach to building a battery module from scratch. In the past, we had some really good success with some of our other off-grid battery solutions, and we kind of took our lessons learned and built it into this.
Excellent. Well, do you want to tell me, how did you guys get started in doing this, and how long have you been around?
Yeah, so quite the little story there. So we've been around for since 2015, so we're coming up on 6 years now, which
Whoa.
seems like a short period of time, but when you look at the battery world, I mean, apparently we're pioneers, so or we're
Absolutely.
veterans a little bit, so which is really cool. So we got our start actually more into the mining and industrial sector. That's really where we started, and we developed a product called the Backpack Energy. And if you've seen it before or you haven't, it's basically a replacement for our gas for diesel generator. So it's a portable power pack, but it's completely fuel free, which is really cool. So instead of having a gas or diesel generator when you're going out on site or you're going underground in a mine or maybe a transit, you've got these power packs that you just press on. No fuels, no fumes, no noise, or nothing, and you can plug in all your tools, electronics, stuff like that. So that's where we sort of got our roots from. And then we started getting calls about just people, hey, I've got an RV, or hey, you know what, I got a boathouse that doesn't have power, and we sort of kind of flourished into this space that we thought, hey, this we didn't plan it like this, but if it's tough enough for a mine, if it's tough enough for for an underground application, it's definitely tough enough for everybody else out there, and so that's how we started getting into more of the residential space, which was pretty cool. And so all our products start at 4,000 watts. They're all lithium iron phosphate based, so they're a really high quality product. They're all assembled right here in Canada. We've over the years tried more and more to use Canadian or US made components, but all the engineering work is done right here. Pre-COVID, we obviously let people come in and check out what we do and ask all their questions. Now we do a little bit of virtual tours as well, but we're really proud of what we do. We're still a small team. We're growing really quickly. But yeah, our start was really all in that portable, generator replacement that was fuel free, which you can not only charge it right off the grid, but you can also charge it off solar panels. You can charge it off an alternator, so like right off a truck or a car battery, which is really cool as you were driving around. And then this would have been right at the start of COVID. Businesses were just not buying, but there was these other recreational markets that were really picking up, and there was this really big demand for off-grid power or backup power, right? I'm sure you've seen it where we've had a lot of people just move out to the countryside, right? Just leave the big cities because they could work from anywhere, which is a really cool phenomenon. But then people moved out and they realized, well, my grid power is not really stable. There's blackouts all the time. A tree goes down, in my neighborhood. Next thing you know, that's it, right? For a couple of days. And when you're working and you need Wi-Fi, a couple of days isn't going to work with the boss. So we really started seeing this need in the off-grid and these backup markets. And so we looked at what we did and we said, look, we've got all the skill sets, the engineering prowess, and all of this to really put something that makes sense together. And then so we teamed up with some solar installers and some customers and said, look, what would be your dream package? And they came up with, it's got to be easy to install, it's got to look good, and it's got to be scalable. So, and that was something really important. We saw, the Tesla Powerwall that we're really familiar with. We saw a bunch of other systems, and they were either really good looking, like the Tesla Powerwall, but really not scalable. So you're kind of fixed to this, whatever they sell you, you're fixed to that. which, for most people made sense, but for a lot of people it didn't. And so you couldn't really scale it to your specific needs. It was just kind of, you might be paying for way too much, right? Or you saw this scenario where it was just such a, you needed 20 different components to make up something that even came close to passing code. It was difficult to do. You really had to be an electrician or a solar installer to know how to do it. And even then, it's a lot of work for them to put this all together.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So is that, what rendition is this? You did the product launch today on this. How many revisions of this particular unit have you done? And what's the biggest change on it?
Yeah, so what we came up with when we were addressing this market was called a power tower, and that's on our website there, and you can check it out there. But it's basically an all-in-one off-grid or backup power system. Just hangs up on the wall, and you can wire this up in like 2 hours versus 2 days, which is really cool.
Right.
And our batteries that we had with this were called the PT3.9s, and it was kind of our first version of what you see here. It was very simple. The battery management system was closed loop, or so open loop, so there was no communication with the outside world. It was just kind of its own little box. It was basically a lithium version of a lead acid battery.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So then when we started, our the customer feedback was, look, I'd love to have Wi-Fi monitoring. I'd love to have all my packs talk together. So instead of the display showing me, one showing me 50%, the other one 40%, the other one 35% or 45% or whatever it may be, I want them all to talk to each other, display, the average or whatever it may be. And he talked to my inverter and all that kind of stuff. So that's when we took all that feedback and we came up with this, which is really cool. And what we were able to do is fit the same amount of energy that we fit in our 3.9, so 3.9 kilowatt hours, into something, so identical size, identical weight, but it's got 6.4 kilowatt hours. So like over 60% more energy in the same space.
Right.
Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you now heating your batteries? Like, what else are you doing with that?
Yeah. So one other big feature that people wanted us to have in there was this cold weather capability. And when you're talking lithium, it's always that, that's that sour point of lithium is the fact that below 0 degrees Celsius or below freezing, 32 Fahrenheit, you just can't charge these, right? You're going to damage your batteries, or the battery management system's just going to totally just not accept you or let you do it. So we looked at that.
And isn't that a safety? That's a safety precaution though, as well, right? With lithium, you don't want them to charge at that temperature unless they're heated, because it becomes dangerous, which is what the battery management systems are there to do, is to create the safety factor, right?
Exactly. So it's a safety factor. It's also a battery damage thing, right? So if you were to charge below 0 degrees Celsius, you could permanently damage those cells, and you may have paid for a system that's 3,000 or 10,000 under ideal condition cycles, but you're getting 100 or 200, like that bad of a damage. So what we did is, like, we looked at this as an opportunity to really say, hey, let's put a fully automatic heating system in there, something that doesn't draw too much watts, but that keeps it at optimum operating temperature. And not only for charging, but also for discharging, because what we did is we looked at the math and we said, okay, if you lose 30 or 40% capacity when you're down to, say, minus 10, minus 20 degrees Celsius, wouldn't it be better just to take a little bit of that energy and just keep the battery at 10 degrees Celsius, right? And then you'll get your full optimum, energy out of the packs. So then that's exactly what we did. So the heating system's fully automatic. You don't even need to worry about it. And even if you were to fully deplete the system, so the heating system obviously is not going to work anymore, these new cells that we're using that are so much more energy dense are also rated for minus 30 degrees Celsius storage and discharge. Yeah, even if the heating system didn't work.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I am serious.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So you've kind of come over. It is a game changer, because this has been the whole big thing. Like, I know as a renewable energy company, I really was apprehensive about allowing any kind of lithium into any of our off-grid, scenarios because of the cold, right? Even with the heated capability, you get a little bit worried, right? Because one failure could lead to disastrous result for the client. So, that is a total game changer. Wow. It's the first time I've actually heard that now. So I think you guys are the ones that only have that.
Yeah, we think so too. And I mean, the thing too was we know that a lot of people, these are summer cottages and residences that they may not be there all the time. So then they tell me, okay, look, when I'm gone, it might get down to minus 25 degrees Celsius. I'm not there, and I want to turn the system off. And so if you have the system off, the heating system's not working, right? So we had
Right.
to make sure that these cells were rated for even when they were stored down to minus 30 degrees Celsius.
Right. Yes.
Mhm.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So then it becomes more of a viable option in Saskatchewan, Manitoba regions. Like, I mean, BC, it just doesn't get as cold there, right? And
No, they're lucky.
even East Coast, I mean, yeah, they get lots of snow, but they don't get as cold. So it's easier to keep these things warmed and things like that, right? So,
Exactly.
but when you're hitting minus 40,
Yeah.
it's a pretty impactful thing. I know just we had 2 weeks of really bad cold here, and
Mhm.
I know lots of people who had frozen, even AGM batteries were freezing.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we
Yeah,
want to respond to this. And what we found too is that people say, well, hey, look, sometimes it gets minus 40 degrees Celsius, and will minus 30 degrees Celsius be okay for me? Rated packs, and I always tell them, you got to remember that there's a lot of residual heat in there. This is a decently sized mass, so it may be minus 40, minus 45 degrees Celsius out, but inside this, it's probably minus 20. So, but it gives you that buffer.
well, and anything that is producing is creating energy. And I think that's a lot of what people don't understand as well. Same for other types of battery technologies. If as long as there's something creating energy to it, it is actually producing energy, which is creating heat. Ergo, anything that it creates light creates heat. Anything that creates energy creates heat as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me, what's the direction with this launch? What is the plan for this season?
So it's really exciting for us because we're going to be now, this is going to become our primary battery that we're going to not only use for for residential and commercial applications, but also for a variety of other mobile applications. So in the past we've worked with mining companies, we've worked with military outfits as well for vehicle systems. So this is going to have a
Right.
myriad of different applications. And
Well,
so
yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you a question. So this is solar ready, this unit? How much solar can it take if it is?
So this actually couples up to our solar, our power tower. So this is the power tower battery. So this is just the battery itself. This is the
Gotcha.
storage solution. You can just get yourself an MPPT and an MPPT solar charger and actually just connect it up to these terminals if you wanted. Really, you could use it for whatever you want.
Right.
But our power tower system that goes with this and works really well as a pair is an all-in-one inverter. So it's a 6,000 watt inverter with 18,000 watt surge. It'll do 120, 240 split, or just 120. It has,
Oh,
so, and then it has a 3,500 watt built-in MPPT as well. So that's really the perfect marriage.
35. That is, yeah, 3,500 watts of solar. We're talking a smaller, like 1,200 square foot gas heat home, and this would pretty much do it.
Yeah.
Can you set this so that it'll actually run and just use like the utility power when it's needed to charge up the battery? Like,
Yeah,
can it go back
100%.
and forth?
Yeah, so you can do a hybrid mode, or we call it intelligent mode. So what it
Okay.
does is it'll use up solar first, then it'll
Yeah.
use up not all of the batteries because you want to have some backup time, but most of the battery power. And then once that's fully depleted, then it'll start using the grid to charge up that battery back again, and obviously power your home for that time being once the solar kicks back in.
So when the grid falls away, you still have the solar and you still have the battery, right?
Correct, exactly.
And a lot of the utilities across Canada now are no longer giving proper, like a full credit to people selling energy. So you really don't want to do that. I know here in Manitoba, you're only getting 3 cents a kilowatt. So we don't want to sell energy, but we want to use energy and offset energy as much as possible because that's 10 cents a kilowatt if we do
Exactly.
that. And in
Yep.
Saskatchewan, it's the same deal, except for their cost for theirs is 14 something cents a kilowatt. And then they only credit you back at 7 cents, right? So again, for Saskatchewan, Manitoba, totally makes sense to use this type of system. You still offset energy.
Yeah.
There's no
So you're-
question, but we're not selling extra, and we have battery backup when there's no power, which
Exactly.
let's face it, with these aged infrastructures, I think within 5 years, every home should have it. I don't understand why you wouldn't want it. I do, by the way, I have battery backup on my home with 5 kilowatts of solar. And I utilize mine all the time too. And it's the feature is brand new for another inverter technology that we are using, but we've been watching you guys. We've been watching because you are Canadian and you have the right idea because you're incorporating everything that everybody's been telling you. And I think you've got the right size system here because at 6 kilowatts, that's going to encompass all the average things because a 4 kilowatt inverter is just not quite big enough for those hot tubs that are outside.
Yes,
Minus
exactly.
40 in hot tubs outside that fail,
Yeah.
that's not an option.
No way. And yep.
You
Go ahead.
know, no, I'm just saying though that it sounds frivolous, but it's not. It's a real struggle. I mean, I've got clients with, $10,000, $12,000 hot tubs. The power goes out for who knows how long. The little lines underneath are what actually freeze and cause the
Right.
damage to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So what they're
and a
so
big
they're
feature
hoarding
on
them
this.
in.
Sorry, a
Mhm.
big feature on this one too is we have 18,000 watts of surge. So if you are working something that does have pumps or motors that need that huge surge capability, this has 18,000 watts. Is a huge amount of surge.
Really?
Yeah.
18,000. Wow. So, and how long can it do that for? Is that like 30 seconds or?
So it's thermal based. So I can't say it's 5 seconds or 20 seconds, whatever it is. It's actually based on how much heat you've been producing in that system.
Yep.
So if you were say running it at 20% load, you'd have a lot longer time than if you were running at 100% load before that spike happened.
Yes, absolutely. That makes sense. But I like that size though, because like I said, the 4 kilowatts just not quite big enough for most of these applications. So you're teetering on that high end, even remote well pumps. If we're doing a backup system for those, it's really on the edge because those are 4 kilowatt well pumps,
Right. You'd
Um,
probably be putting a lot of abuse on that 4 kilowatt inverter.
You really are, yeah. Whereas you'd be right in the wheelhouse of a 6 kilowatt inverter. So I really like that size. And you're doing that. You were only 120 before, right? Isn't the 240 jump isn't to normal power? Isn't that new for you?
It is, yeah. So we launched with the just 120 volt output input, and we really thought that more people would be just on the 120 volt setup. But
Mm-hmm.
and it was true. A lot of the homes, off grid homes, are really just 120 volt. But what we found is the problem is all their generators are 240 volt input. And the limitation with having a bypass feature like what we have in here, and for those who aren't familiar with bypass feature, it just allows power straight from the generator to the home when you are running off the generator, which is a lot more efficient process. We were realizing that nobody was having a 6,000 or 7,000 watt 120 volt only generator. So we said, okay, well, you know what? For the customers who really need, to run the generator at 240, let's do a 120 240 volt split version, and that's just taken off. I mean, that's by far a more popular product.
Well, I'm excited. I didn't even know. I thought that was still in development. And I didn't know it was a 6 kilowatt, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm going to talk to
Yeah.
Paul about that. Hey, Paul, I didn't quite get the memo on that. No, it's exciting because I'm always as a Canadian company. I've been in business for 13 years, and I look for and struggle sometimes to find Canadian innovation in companies. And you guys are amazing. And I've been finding quite a few others, but I find that it's just hard to find them.
Yeah.
It's in a sea for some reason because it's just, I don't know what it is. Like in the US, it's easy to find these people that are doing whatever they're doing, but here it's hard. It's really difficult to find. So for me, I know when I found you guys, I think it's been, I don't know, almost a year that we've been with you guys. And I like that you guys are on it. You guys are innovators. You're not just a company. You're really listening to your customer. And I think that's super important. Guys out there, you really got to talk to these guys. They know what they're talking about over at hybridps.ca. Sorry, they just changed that so as it was shorter because it used to be a longer name. And they've got where's your location down? It's in Quebec, right?
No, we're actually in Mississauga, and we're actually, some
Mississauga?
good, some sneak peek at some good news. We're actually just moving to a bigger facility about 10 minutes down the road in Toronto.
Oh, great. Excellent. And then of course you have your BC location. which is how I originally got in contact with you guys. So I was very happy that you came to our company and told us all about yourselves last year. And it's been really exciting watching you grow. And in just 6 years, you've accomplished quite a bit. I think that you've gone from, sort of filling these little niches to now you have this really high performance product that's ready. It's just ready.
Mhm.
And this is CSA approved, correct? Or is CETL?
So we actually are in the process of doing UL 1973.
Okay.
So I'll be UL certified, which is
Yep.
great. That is a lengthy process. So right now it's just pending. We are ESA inspecting all these batteries to CSA standards in the meantime to make sure that they are compliant with Canadian code.
Gotcha.
So that'll be our interim solution. So more costly for us, but on your end, the same result.
Right. So you're just having them come down with every unit and giving you a field label at the moment, right?
Exactly. So they're just checking all out, making sure they're all safe, and then shipping them out.
Oh, that makes total sense. Yeah, yeah. We've had to do similar, and we also worked with Intertech for some field certifications as well when we had modifications on some products, and that can work well. It's nice when you get the final stamp. It is cheaper after you're done, but it does take a little
Yeah, the
while,
process
especially with
itself is expensive,
yes.
that's for sure.
So the product that's coming out of your warehouse, out of your facility, though, it's ESA inspected, so it has a label. So this can be just directly installed as a unit anywhere it's going. You don't have to have a secondary inspection when it comes to approved to work for all the components within, right?
So that's specific to your province or state if you're from the United States. It is, usually what you'll do is once you have the whole system set up, you will have to get another inspection because they need to check out the solar systems, right? And all this other bits and bobs are all done well, right?
Yeah.
If you're just installing the batteries, then yeah, they're already stamped and ready to go. But it's usually part of a global system. But the fact that there's already that sticker on there means that they just look at the sticker and move on to the next thing, right? So it's a really
Well, and that's my point. Like here, for instance, in Manitoba, I'm not saying let's say we're doing it outside of Winnipeg. It would be, we'd have a hydro inspector that would be inspecting, and we'd have to apply to and pull permits with. But um, before all that, if we have components that don't have a CSA or an ESA or something with Canada on it, certifying it, then we have to go and get, that special certification from our fire commissioner. And that's not always easy because I only have one of those and he does the whole province. So that's
right.
difficult, right? Not that expensive, but very difficult to get a hold of his time. For something like that, it's, they have a mandate, they have to come out, so you still have to wait no matter what, right? You can't just send pictures and get a stamp, right? It doesn't work that way.
And another thing on this module that really cool, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Canadian Electrical Code just changed in May, and it reflects the American, so the NEA or National Electrical Code in the States, or NEC, excuse me. And this new rule basically states that this new code basically states that your batteries have to actually shut off if there was certain kind of fault. So I don't know if you're familiar with the rapid shut off on solar systems, but it's basically the same thing that you have to now apply to the battery themselves. So it's it caught everybody off guard, this rule. Yeah. So it's really weird. You've actually got to shut the batteries off. So at the battery module level, they, in a fault setting, in a scenario that there's a fault, they have to be able to, so the fire department, as well as, if it's an automatic system, has to be able to fully disable, fully turn off the outputs to this battery. So what we've done in the front here on this side there, we've got a black connector, and you actually wire that into the rapid shutoff system. And the minute that rapid shutoff system, this is activated, this actually fully shuts down the output. So we're going to be one of the only batteries on the market who are fully compliant with this.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't even know where to begin. So it's all built in. No, honestly, like you making it easier for the people on the ground trying to design the full system and get people installed and the permits and everything they got to do. So the more you can get like worked out on the other end of it, the easier it is for us, you know? So I know I truly appreciate a more put together package that is thoughtful of all of these things like that our needs are for our clients and for our inspections units so that everybody's happy with the product and it's safe. I know safety is a huge factor for me. You know, you got a lot of people who think they know solar out there and, you know, and batteries, and we're not seeing the fuses and the overcurrents in the right places or the right sizes of cabling and wiring. Now,
Right.
what comes with your stuff? Is it like pre-wired or like, so is
Yeah,
this, because you mentioned how simple it was. Can you walk me through that?
for sure. So when you get we do sell like full packages, and what I'm talking about a full package includes your solar panels, your combiner box, your and then your obviously your inverter, solar charger, and everything along with the batteries. And we've got 4 different sizes of those, and they're basically small, medium, large kind of situations. So you just kind of pick which one. But if you're just looking to do your solar yourself, or you're an installer, and obviously these packages are available for installers as well. But if you just want to start with the raw systems of the power tower itself, which always includes one battery, which is pretty cool.
Right.
So it'll have the one battery, which would be one of these, or you can go to our 3.9, which is our older model if you just don't need that much energy. So it includes one of these plus the unit itself. And the unit itself, the power tower, is a system that mounts right up on the wall. It's got your MPPT built into it, the inverter built into it, your bypass built into it, along with all the breakers, the ground fault protection on both the DC side, surge protection for lightning hits on the PV. So everything's built into this one nice glass cabinet, hangs up on the wall. On the bottom, what you have is the matching little connectors for this. You just click these in, you click on your battery, that's pretty much done. And then you've got one 10-foot cable or 3-meter cable that goes to your main circuit breaker panel. You wire that up into your circuit breaker panel. You've got connectors for your solar on the bottom, and you plug your solar and you're off to the races. And then you have 2 generator plugs. So you just can plug in your generator straight up into that. So we've taken the installation time from, having all these components that you have to sort of size up.
Okay. So
this package.
So basically you're going to a sub panel, correct? Or usually if we're doing a backup for a home, for instance. So we've got a main panel and then we've got a sub panel and we've this in the middle. So on our AC in, you talked about the 2 kinds of generator plugins to it. Now, what would we do there to get to the main panel instead of doing an AC? And do you have a place for that too, or
so the generators? Yeah, so the generator can be either for a generator input, we just call it generator, but it could be for a generator or grid input. So the way you'd wire it in a backup scenario is you'd have your main panel, you'd have your power tower in the middle, and then you have your either your pony panel, your breakout panel, whatever you want to call it, sub panel. And what you would do is you have your main panel feed your power tower, and that would feed up your batteries, and then you connect up your solar to that power tower, and then your power tower would actually just feed all of those essential.
So another question then is, can you still use a generator if the main grid has fallen away? Let's say, is there still access to plug in a generator there?
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to do that. You can manually unplug the grid power, which is just actually a physical plug, so you can actually if you wanted to. But for those who are looking for a more seamless process, what a lot of people do is they'll install an automatic transfer switch between the 2. So when it senses the grid come down, it'll automatically switch over to the generator. And we have a built-in automatic generator start, an AGS, in our power tower. So that hooks up to your generator and it'll automatically fire it up for you.
Interesting. So that's a secondary component that we can get from you as well, or?
It's all built into the kit.
Oh, so the transfer switch part is built into the kit. So you just wire that up with your kit, and then you've got all of those.
Yeah, so the automatic generator starts built into the kit. The automatic transfer switch between generator and AC, that would be a separate unit.
Yeah, but that's something we can get from you.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. So it sounds like you guys have thought about everything here, and you've definitely got the right size going on. Now, how this brand new unit, like the older version you were mentioning, is that just 120 power, or is that?
So the Yeah, so the change in the power tower itself has, like, the unit itself hasn't changed. It's the 6,000 to 122. We went from a 120 and now we have a 12240 as well. So you can pick between the both. It's really up to you. The only change really with this is that we've gone to a bigger, better battery. So the battery's changed. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm just going to take a small sponsor break. And then when we come back, I would just love for you to tell me, like, what you guys have done so many cool things, but obviously you've got a few more things up your sleeve. And I want you to let us in on some of that, if you don't mind, a little sneak peek. So we'll see you right after this.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back, evolutionaries. We've been talking with Francois Byrne from Hybrid Power, and they have been just doing amazing stuff over there with their brand new product launch for their heated lithium battery that can actually be stored to -30, which is a game changer for a lot of provinces. Really excited to hear, though. Welcome back, Francois. I just wanted. What are you guys doing in the future here? So you've done so many incredible things this year alone. What is the vision of the company?
Yeah, I mean, we're really trying to own this Canadian market in the recreational and small scale commercial space. We've just, there's just been such a huge opportunity to come up with something innovative. I mean, we really didn't see anything out there that was really exciting. And so finally, we've got something that I think, well, personally, I'm really excited about, and we really want to take the market by storm. So, we're focusing on delivering this out to, the nation, really, Canada-wide, and making this a standard in battery backup and as well as, renewable energy storage solutions. So on the innovation front, we've got a lot of things in the works. I can hint at a few things if you want.
Absolutely. What are some of the R&Ds?
Great. So with the fact that this is a fully CAN bus communication enabled system. So for those who aren't familiar with CAN bus, it's just kind of a protocol for talking between each other. So this battery can connect up. You can actually connect up to 24 of these together in parallel, and they'll all actually talk to each other, which is really cool. And one big advantage of that is, one, they get the displays will actually all synchronize up, so they can show you what the whole pack has as state of charge. So that's your battery percentage. Instead of just individual ones. You can also scroll through the settings and see what's that state of charge for that specific unit, but it's displaying information across all systems, which is really cool. The other really cool thing on this is that you can integrate new packs, or when you're installing them, when you integrate a new pack to, an existing module, an existing bank, it'll actually detect if it's safe for that new module to be automatically integrated into the system. Because the thing with LiFePO is or lithium iron phosphate, this kind of chemistry, is you really want them to be almost the same state of charge when they're coupled together. So typically the way you do that is you'd have to try to balance them all off by charging them off all together at the same time. But with this, what it'll do is it'll say, hey, you know what, like this guy's getting to about 50%, I'm at 50%, boom, let him in. And so that's a fully automated process. So it makes installation really a lot.
So it's doing the automatic balancing. I actually know one client, he has 2 sets of lithiums and they don't talk to each other. One's heated, one's not. I didn't sell that. But anyways, he has all these questions for me and I'm like, because he's at 57 volts and 53 volts. So like it's never seems to match up. I don't know why it's not balancing, but definitely it doesn't talk to each other. So this is a real problem because then they're not going to function right.
Exactly, and you know we always say you're always as good as your weakest link. So if your weakest link is and if you're not balanced properly, I mean you're really not getting the capacity you paid for. And these systems aren't cheap, so you want to make sure you're getting what you paid for.
Yeah, the customer told me he spent something in the neighborhood of $13,000 for these 2 banks of batteries. Wow. And it was, it's what's wrong with it is one is heated and one is not, and it's in an unheated space. So obviously this is a dangerous system. It's not balancing, and it's all probably already damaged, right? Which is why one is not reaching the right voltage, probably.
Yeah, I mean, you should never be mixing batteries. People always ask me, well, can I mix a 3.9 and a 6.4 like they're 2 of our models? No, don't do that. You shouldn't be mixing chemistry. You should really just be keeping to the exact same model and spec, or that you have. They should all be the same.
Especially with those lithiums, yeah, they're a lot more sensitive in that regard. But they do a really good job when they're done right. So it is important to do your homework. I have and we did episode, I think it was episode 16, with Greg Smith from Tygo. He's actually the training director for Tygo, and he used to work for Sonnen over in the US, and he's actually releasing a book, Lithium for Homeowners. Because there's so many people that just don't know and they do stupid things and kill their batteries. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
It's trying to educate the homeowner on what to ask for, what's the right location, what not to do. That's a biggie.
And the number of times I've heard of people, especially on the lead acid batteries, that have over discharged their batteries, and then they don't understand why it's not holding a charge. It's crazy. And people spend, they're like, well, look, let's go with lead acid because it's cheaper. It might be cheaper up front. Long term, it definitely isn't. It's a lot more expensive. I did a whole webinar on that, I think.
I have perfect clients that have gotten 20 years out of their lead acid. I will be honest with you. That 100%. Was about 3 of them. And I've been in business for 13 years. And I was not one of them, by the way. So I blew up my own bank at home here. Just saying.
And that's the thing, right? And with having a lithium, you're getting a battery management system that's going to try its best to make sure you don't ever get into a situation like that. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a lot harder than lead acid, where you actually just have to manually be able to, not create a situation that gets
going back to not being fused and overcurrented and the right size cabling. This is the other piece of it. This is electronics built right in. So not only do you get all of the overcurrent, all of the fusing, all of the proper size cabling, because I'm looking at that right there. And, you're getting all of that, but you're getting that battery management system that's going to give you a really long life on this battery. And I think that's also a game changer too, because you just don't see that always, right? You're giving them, here's your 1, 2, 3 on how to set up. And everything's going to talk to each other and tell you if something's going on, right? So I think that's really important. We do have a lot of DIY customer bases out there, and we're all familiar with them. And it's not to say that they're wrong. They're trying to save some money, and I get it. But some of these systems can be quite dangerous if not done right. And the last thing we want to see, so the last thing we want to see is a lithium battery that's blown up in somebody's cabin and it hits the media, and it gives everybody the wrong idea because it was never installed correctly to begin with, right?
Exactly. And that's sort of where we're trying to take as much of the guessing game away from the end client or even the solar installer to make it as easy as possible for them to get the system right. So that's really important. And another really cool, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, this industry is growing by leaps and bounds every year. I think there was a little bit of a halt last year, but I think this year it's going right back to where it was and that steady climb. And you've got a lot of brand new, younger installers that don't know this stuff very well yet. So is this a really important piece for them as well?
Definitely. And another cool thing that we're going to launch. So as I said, these are all communicating within each other. Well, hey, let's do something cool with that information. So and one of our biggest requests is Wi-Fi. Can I see this from anywhere in the world? This is my second property. I want to make sure everything's okay. So the cool thing is these will have. We're going to launch this very shortly. Where there'll be a little Wi-Fi modules. They'll tie into this. It'll tell you exactly what's going on with the batteries, how much capacity, how much energy is coming in, going out, the whole works, and you'll be able to see that anywhere. Anywhere you are in the world, as long as you've got an internet connection, and then the batteries are connected to the internet.
Oh, perfect. That is just excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to, I want to bring you back on the show when you do your next launch. Absolutely. You guys are so great at listening to your customers. And I think this one that you launched is just amazing. I think you've got a really good package to move forward with, and it's just so innovative. And it's Canadian, everybody.
There you
Evolutionary is totally Canadian. You can check them out. Give them a call at 1-866-5-HYBRID. Again, that's 1-866-5-HYBRID or www.hybridps.ca. We've been talking to Francois Byrne, Project Director of Hybrid Power Solutions, and they're just moving into a brand new location, much bigger. They're doing very well. Thank you for coming on the show and talking to our evolutionaries today. That's just amazing. And I hope to, hear more great things about your company and how everything is progressing from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.